Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Sincerely Cassandra XOXO. I wanted to do a bit of an unscripted, sort of impromptu video because something I've noticed is a topic that has blown up recently is Tyla. So I had known about Tyla because I watched a video by Girl World all about her glow up and everything. And of course, I know her hit song, the Make Me Sweat. I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing, but you know what one. I'll put a little clip in there.
Make me sweat, make me hotter, make me lose my breath.
But anyway, I've sort of caught on to this whole VMAs debacle controversy, and I would say like non-controversy, non-issue in my opinion. I mean, this woman just asked someone to hold her award. I don't understand the big deal. And, I know that there are racial connotations. There's a whole other subtext there that I'm aware of on the periphery because I am not Black. I am a white woman. So I'm not even going to pretend that I can really understand this fully and in a personal level. I've watched some videos by Blunt Girly. She did a video about this. I love Blunt Girly. Been watching her a lot. And then I also watched one by a channel I actually had never known about before called Exotical Dollhouse. The title of the video says both Black and white women hate Tyla, downsides of pretty privilege. So I just think it's really sad that we have this competitive view, and like the reasons that were given in this video from the two women that this channel discussed were not only just spiteful and bitter, but also pretty xenophobic. And I think we're living in a particularly xenophobic time in the United States. We have crazy rumors going on in Ohio. You might have seen some of that. The most baseless things that I've heard some crazy things in my lifetime, but it's like a new level of crazy, right? So just thinking about all that and like the context, Tyla's not someone who triggers me. Tyla's not really someone who is like that much on my radar, I gotta be honest. Because I watched the video from Girl World, I had thought about making her part of my beauty series, but like I didn't want it to look like I was like copying Girl World, you know what I mean? But Tyla, I think she's beautiful. She's clearly very talented. She's got a banging body, and I think it triggers people. Tyla doesn't trigger me. Tyla, great for her, great success. I don't understand the controversy. Like, is everyone really just that bored? Is everyone so desperate to go viral on TikTok for a benign opinion? Well, no, not a benign opinion, but like a benign moment, an award show, and trying to give their opinion on it. And I do think there's a point that Blunt Girly made, along with a lot of other channels, about how these women are so many of them are so clearly projecting their insecurities. And my person who I used to project my insecurity like this was Rada, or Emily Ratajkowski. Oh my goodness. Like, this is what this reminds me of. So I'm going to speak from my perspective because obviously I can't really speak on a personal level to the race stuff, the colorism stuff. Like, I'm aware of it. I know what it is. But that's kind of like out of my ballpark. So I just kind of lurk on those channels like Blunt Girly, Exoticals United, and now Exotical Dollhouse because I think they're really interesting, but I know it's not really content for me. So I hope they don't mind that I like lurk on their channel. I don't think they would. But yeah, my person who used to really trigger me was Rada. And this is what this all reminds me of, is how I used to feel about Emily Ratajkowski. I'm trying to think of the timeline. It had to be like 2017, 2018. It was definitely pre-COVID. So well over 5 years ago. Probably in my mid 20s. Rada was like the it girl. She was everywhere on Instagram. She was like one of the highest paid models. I don't know how many like traditional modeling campaigns she did. Like, Cindy Crawford did Revlon and things like that. Like, I don't think Rada did a lot of those like high fashion or cosmetic campaigns. She was much more of like an Instagram model. So like she might have been one of the highest paid Instagram models at the time, and she was everywhere. It was before her memoir, but she was the it girl, basically. I remember sort of being vaguely aware of her, and then my boyfriend at the time had mentioned that he thought she was really hot, and I was so triggered. And I think part of the reason why I was triggered, which maybe is sort of relatable for the people who are triggered by Tyla, is that Emrata kind of has similar features to me. And now hear me out. I'm not here saying I look like Emrata, but I'm just saying like our skin tone is very similar. I also have dark brown eyes and dark brown hair. She's clearly a white woman, but she also seems to tan pretty decently. She's not like extremely fair, extremely pale. That sounds rude, but like extremely, she's not extremely fair. She's not someone who looks like she's going to go out in the sun and instantly turn into a lobster. And that's also how I tend to look. Like I do tan decently, even though I can burn. I'm not one of those people who like has to avoid the sun religiously. Yeah, I think for me, when he said that, it was sort of triggering because at the time I was very overweight, maybe obese. I didn't really track my weight very well at that time. And it's sort of her being so snatched called me out. And the other thing is, because I was overweight, I was very busty. Like my boobs were pretty big. And that was what made me sexy. And seeing Emrata, who, at least in photos, appeared to be snatched, but also very busty and have like a nice butt, which is my other thing. I tend to be a little more curvy. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to be overweight or fat like I was, but I've always had some curves. Like even if I'm losing a lot of weight, there's always going to be some curves. I'm never going to be like Kate Moss skinny or Emrata skinny. And that's totally fine. Like I just want to look like a toned, slender version of me, not slender for like the catwalk. Having my boyfriend at the time, who is long gone, but at the time sort of, say, oh, she's hot, which like, okay, objectively, sure, like fine. It felt like it was holding up a mirror, like, oh, here's this like skinny version of me. We have the same hair color, the same eye color, the same skin tone. What I thought was sort of like the source of my sex appeal and like something I had like over skinny women, right? It was like holding up a mirror, and it wasn't a mirror that I wanted to see because it was pointing out flaws in myself, reflecting back what I didn't want to be true, what I didn't want to see, that I wasn't taking care of myself, that I should have been in better shape and eating healthier, even if it didn't mean having like a super flat stomach. So I also had this mentality of like, well, they might have a flat stomach, they being skinny women in general, not anyone in particular, except in this case, Emrata. Prior to this conversation where he mentioned that he thought Emrata was hot, I had sort of this idea that like my sex appeal was my ass, was my boobs, was the fact that they were both like bigger and curvier, especially because this was like probably 2017, 2018 when like the slim thick was still very much the body type. So I kind of felt like, okay, I'm having my moment. Like I'm curvy. Like this is sexy. I have boobs. I have an ass. Like men love it. And then here you have someone like Emrata who also has that and is snatched. And that was like, oh, no, no, no. How is this skinny girl going to have what's supposed to be mine? What's not supposed to be part of the skinny girls? And it was just like this weird warped way of thinking. I think what's happening with Tyla is something similar where women are getting triggered. Tyla is, in a way, sort of reflecting back things that they're insecure about, and it's pure projection. And I've never been so triggered as I have by anyone except Emrata, and that's because some of our features are kind of similar. I would look for anything and everything to criticize her for, right? Like, she's always naked on her Instagram, which like it can be your taste or it could not be, but like that's her prerogative. It's her Instagram. And even now, I don't think she's a great person because she and her, I think ex-husband now, maybe husband, I don't know. I don't really keep up with her. Like, I'm not a fan of her still. Like, I still don't think she's a great person because I had heard way back in the day that she and her husband, ex-husband, I don't know, whatever their status is, they refused to pay their rent, even though they were both millionaires. So they didn't pay their rent for a good 2 years. And apparently she was paid to leave the New York City apartment. So they were basically squatting despite the fact that they were really wealthy individuals. And I know New York is expensive, but that's ridiculous. I mean, over 2 years, they never paid. I'm just looking at the article now. Okay, so they had subletted from someone, and her husband, Bear McClard, I don't know, stopped paying rent in 2017 and filed a worthless application to register the unit under the city's loft law, which meant he couldn't be evicted while his application was pending the suit charges. So they utilized delay tactics while that application was being processed, not paying rent. So they basically used a big legal loophole trying to claim that they should have had affordable housing protections despite being two millionaires on their own. I mean, Emrata had 1.5 million followers on Twitter at the time, saying they were fighting the good fight against a real estate conglomerate. Yeah, I don't think she's a great person. I'm going to be honest. And she does this weird, like, I think she has kind of a weird brand of feminism. I'm also being honest, where it's like, I don't know. I understand, like, modeling paid her the most and it was just available to her. But it's, like, extremely sexualized, and I just don't know. I don't know how to feel about her, but I can at least acknowledge, even though I don't think she was a very good person, I think she's a little shady, I can acknowledge that my issues with her were completely rooted in my own insecurity. And at the time I was like, look, she's terrible. She doesn't pay her rent and she's so entitled. And like all those things can be true while I was still insecure, right? And that's part of the reason why I started this channel and why I started the Beauty Secret series, because I've really come a long way in my own jealousy. And I think it's so sad when women just, well, it's sad on two accounts. It's sad when they give up on themselves, right? I had just like stopped being aware of my body. Like I had stopped thinking that fitness was really achievable for me, despite the fact that I really had no health issues. I mean, I wasn't sickly, I wasn't disabled or anything like that. And I sort of thought, oh, well, I just kind of like am fat. Like that's kind of what it is. And like, I'm not really that fat. No, I was. At times, I definitely was. Sad when women give up on themselves. I also wasn't really great about taking care of my hair, despite the fact that I was supposedly in my quote unquote prime. And now I'm in my 30s and I look so much better than I did in my mid 20s. It's sad in that way. And that's sad too when we project our insecurities onto other women and we feel like beauty is this zero-sum game. Like this idea that there's like a finite quantity of beauty to go around, right? Like if there's only 100 units of beauty, right? Let's say there's only 100 units of beauty. The idea that there's only 100 units, and if Emrata has 90 of them or Tyla has 90 of them and I thought I had 20 of them, she has taken 10 of mine. It's like this non-renewable resource to be beautiful, right? Like I can be beautiful on my own, you can be beautiful on your own. Tyla is beautiful on her own. Emrata is beautiful on her own. I just think it's really sad when we are so narrow about that. Like every single person can do things to make themselves look better. That's the gist of it. We can all do things to make ourselves look better. We can all find a haircut that works for us. We can all stand with better posture. We can all take care of ourselves. And that's really the main message behind my channel. So I invite you, if you're triggered by Tyla or if you're triggered by anyone else, to really examine that and examine why you have this bitterness and why you feel so strongly about a stranger. Really, like why do you feel so strongly about a stranger and a stranger's looks at that? Because again, I have some evidence that Emrata maybe isn't the best person as far as ethics, but that really doesn't excuse my visceral hatred towards her for how she looks and her body. Who's your person who's triggered you? Do you have a celebrity who I'm talking about? Maybe it's a model, maybe it's a singer like Tyla, maybe it's someone else. Was there someone, a public figure, who triggered you? Yeah, I'd be curious to know. Let me know. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.